Hi, this is Cynthia Ortiz. It is Saturday, September 25th, 2021. These are the Charles Perry Stalker podcast. I've done a bunch of them. I've unfortunately had to do one about every day. The intent of these is to document what Mr. Perry is doing to me that is very, very harmful. It is stalking. He has some sort of imaginary affair in his head with me, and I have no such thing. Mr. Perry has about 6 fraud cases where he's gone into court and committed knowing, blatant, willful perjury. We're just trying to figure out if he did that because he's delusional and imagined it and he really believed it at the time, or if he just bold-faced lied. Probably a little bit of both, I would say. Okay, so going back, we're going to recap things just real quick and talk about kind of what's gone on here over the years with Mr. Perry. Also, we're going to talk about what other women have done too. See, women don't like being stalked. And this lady said the same thing I said. Please leave me alone. I'm not into you. I don't have the hots for you. You're kind of making my skin crawl here with your creepy, is basically what she said. And she had police that were slow to help, which we've had that in Oklahoma with some, not some, but some, not all. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. Some police in Oklahoma have been shitty to me. Some have been fantastic. So here's this, and she's complaining of the same. And that's, I got to tell you, I don't think that, unfortunately, that's uncommon when it comes to stalking. I will say this, that if you're a homicide detective and you really want to be proactive, stay on top of the stalking complaints, because 75% of femicide victims complained of being stalked first. If you've got a premeditated first-degree murder, the perpetrator is going to stalk the victim so that they can figure out the most opportune time to kill that individual. So it seems logical then that the perpetrator would stalk the victim to some extent to find out what they do, what their schedule, when they're alone. When can I, kill this person and get away with it, is kind of what I would believe was be going through their head. Also, for full disclosure, I am in college. I am in my second year of college. I am on the dean's list. My grade point average currently is 3.88. So, we're going to just make sure that's out there. I'm not an invalid. I'm not stupid. I'm not incapacitated in any way, shape, or form. I'm fully able to care for myself, to make decisions for myself. And my decision long ago was not to have a romance with Mr. Perry. My decision long ago was to assist police in catching a bad guy, because this is not just about one man stalking. This is about a kind of like a gang or a business or an organization, whatever you want to call it, mafia, Texas mafia, with some individuals who have some sort of sex pervert problem. And they, I believe, met long ago in a chat room or something for sex deviance. We've got a lot of the mindset that we saw with BTK. Everything is revolves around their sex problem. That's their schedule, their money, their time. All of it revolves around a sex problem. They are deviants, so they get off on weird sex. And there are some Jeff Epstein components to this as well. Okay, so my degree that I pursued initially was psychology, because I wanted to understand what in the fuck makes someone do that. As I began in my college pursuit of a degree, I started taking criminal justice classes as electives, and really got into it. So I've actually since changed my major from psychology to criminal justice. People that know me know that I am the granddaughter of Chief L.M. Hall of Roswell. He was the chief of police in Roswell, New Mexico. He was also a city councilman. He was involved in the UFO investigation, and he was a county treasurer and a GOP chairman. So my granddad was the power in the town where I grew up in Roswell, New Mexico. Chief of police clearly have a lot of power. Now, when he was the chief, he caught one of the city councilmen cheating on his wife and flirting, having an affair with the dispatcher. My granddad pulled him in his office and asked him not to do that. It's taking time away from police business. Obviously, that's soap opera drama. He didn't care for it, nor do I. So the guy got mad at him, and he formed a committee on the city council to take over the police department. And my granddad went through shit. It was awful. I remember seeing the stress on his face. He resigned, actually, eventually as a police chief, and went on to do other things. But it was hard for him to go through that. He believed that you decide to do the right thing to do because it's the right thing to do, even if no one else approves. And I watched him go through hell. But now, see, at the end of the day, his name is on the front door of the police station where he was chief, and he's been greatly honored. On the UFO thing, my granddad told me what happened. He did not believe, neither he or I believe aliens even exist. And I'll leave it at that. But he said other people do, and they're curious about what occurred that day, and it's very much boosted the economy of Roswell, New Mexico. The unfortunate thing is Roswell used to be a cute little town with all these nice little shops down Main Street, and now it's UFO museums. But those UFO museums are visited by people all over the world. They come in. Actress Demi Moore is also from Roswell. She also commented on that it was kind of disappointing to see the nice little shops go away and these UFO museums come in, but well, if your town's about to go under, that's one good way to make it grow, and it did. It helped. So he's actually been quoted on any kind of, documentaries that are on National Geographic or whatever. So my granddad, but more than that, he was a man of integrity. He was a man of high class. He was the power. When he walked in the room, people respected him and they paid attention to him. When he died, my granny got like 200 some not emails. I keep saying emails. Just letters, because then this was in 2004 and she didn't do email. So letters that were complimenting something that he did to help them. From people in the community of Roswell. He relieved suffering caused by crime. That's what he said, was as lawmen and he said as lawmen. He's not a woman, so I've had to add that in at times. But as lawmen, we are called to relieve suffering caused by crime. It's our calling. We are to be the ones to go to that victim of crime and say, today, I'm going to make your hurt go away because I'm going to put the monster in jail that is making you hurt. And he won't be able to do that anymore. That was his belief. That was his philosophy. We were taught to have manners. Gentlemen are to behave as gentlemen. They're to respect the rights and wishes of women and children and be chivalrous. My granddad and my grandmother would get very upset with me if I didn't do your best or go home. Really, you do it with excellence, or you just go home. Don't bother. You're wasting everyone's time. You're wasting everyone's money, too. The other thing I remember being taught was if it's not yours, keep your damn hands off of it. So, we'd go to the grocery, and if even as a young child, kids want to touch everything. I remember my grandmother telling me more than once, if it doesn't belong to you, don't touch it. So those were things that we were taught. All our lives, and to have class. And Mr. Perry had no such upbringing. You can tell. You can just tell. So I have a high standard, though, for law enforcement, and I can, by the way. I don't apologize for that. No one should apologize for excellence. I think Napoleon Hill said, success requires no explanation, and failure allows for no excuses. You can be one or the other, but you can't be both. So I have a high bar for law enforcement. I really don't have any patience for corruption, and I sure as shit don't have patience for Fife. I don't. If you can't do the job right, don't be a police officer. Don't be a cop. If you want to be corrupt, quit your job and quit taking tax dollars, because we're taking care of you. We have a roof over your head. We have a car in your driveway. We're putting clothes on your kids' backs to take care of us. And if you'd rather take care of the bad guy, quit taking the money of the taxpayers and go work for the bad guy. And there's been some of these guys that took Charles's money. You got a pool in your backyard. And to that I would say, when you swim, please know that you're swimming in the blood of victims who died that you failed to protect. And I don't have any patience for that. I don't owe you an apology either. No one does. You owe victims an apology because you sat on your fat ass and did nothing or took the money of a criminal. You're on his side. Get out of law enforcement. You don't need to be there. And I'm very direct about how I feel about that. And I don't owe anybody an explanation. And I don't owe anybody an apology. And anyone who wants to spend one day in my life going through what I've gone to put a stop to crime, then you might be able to tell me what you think. Otherwise, I don't care to hear it. But this poor woman, she starts filming this man stalking her. I mean, no woman likes being stalked. It's awful. You feel smothered. You absolutely feel raped and smothered all the time. It's not a romance. There's nothing romantic about it. So she's made this whole TikTok thing where she's explaining to people the misery and the horror and the terror of being stalked. And she's asking the guy, fucking leave me alone. And he keeps asking, give me 2 minutes of your time. And she's like, no, get out. Get away from me. Weirdo. And all of us feel that way. There's no stalking victim that doesn't feel that way. It's bad. It is. It's just bad. So there's that one. And then there's also Polly Peretti. Same thing. I felt like somebody was holding my head underwater. She's complaining. We complain. All of us do. All of us do. Guess what? Not illegal to do that. It's a perfectly legal thing to do, to complain about someone hurting you. And if you think that's wrong, you're off your nut. You need to be in the funny farm. So she's written the same thing where she's just telling everybody that she's living in fear and she's sick of it. So let me tell you the way human nature is. Human people do anything they can. There's a thing called loss aversion. They do everything they can to prevent loss in their life. And of course that makes sense. That's human nature. Human nature is that you want to feel feelings of happiness and joy. And you want to feel safe. You want to feel protected. You want to feel supported. You want to feel loved. You want to feel successful and prosperous. And you want to feel happy. And you want to feel joy. And these guys invoke feelings of sick. You want to barf. You're uncomfortable. You're creeped out. They evoke feelings of sadness and fear. They evoke feelings of disgust. You want to barf. I'm not kidding you. You are disgusted. Your skin crawls. And Charles Perry makes me feel that way. He makes everyone feel that way. He's very, very delusional. He's very, very mentally ill. His family may have some criminal liability. I think I discussed, I did in one of my criminology classes, a study on Andrea Yates. And so Andrea Yates had killed her kids in Texas, drowned them, 5 of them, one by one, drowns her kids. And she had some postpartum depression and had been told, don't have any more kids. Well, her husband allowed her or made her or whatever, they had another kid. It gets worse. She has a psychotic break, which they were told she would do, and kills the kids. He faces no criminal charges. And I'm like, well, but there's a criminal charge called depraved indifference to human life, and I think he should have been charged with that. Likewise, Mr. Perry's family, depraved indifference to human life. Your dad and your spouse, Jackie, is a nut job, and he's killing people. And he's threatened my life, and I've heard recording after recording of him trying to kill me. It's just that I have police protection from somewhere else. Not Tulsa. Tulsa's not stepped up. Or not as a whole. So what I can say, though, is that when you have a family member who is just exhibiting signs and symptoms of Alzheimer's or senile dementia or sadism or some sort of danger to themselves or others, you have the legal obligation to get them some help. And Mr. Perry does. And he has no alibi for where he is when he's tormenting and torturing women and children. And he's been caught. He doesn't get that. He thinks tormenting, torture, and starvation is a date. It's not. He's done that to me and my kids for 10 years. He's done that to other women and their children too. And that's why he's in a lot of trouble. He was in trouble before I ever came to Oklahoma. He's been caught more than ever in his life. He's a demented creep. He's got a deviant men's club. They're all demented. Because no normal person wants to hurt another. And Charles gets off on it. He enjoys causing torment and torture and harassing and bothering and harassing and bothering and invading privacy and butting in where he's not even, I don't want any relationship with you at all. I don't want any contact with you at all. And here you are butting into my life in places, making phone calls to people you shouldn't even know. I hate it. I don't like it. So my ex-husband and I are now divorced. But let me tell you something. Not one time did he ever call my friends and family, ever. He respected that. That's what men are supposed to do. They are not supposed to get on the phone and call your friends and family and ask them to give you information on your car so that he can take it away. My family has been through enough. I mean, we've all had enough. So, Mr. Perry has a lot of things he's going to have to explain in a different court. Okay, so there's that. This is how you feel when you're a victim of stalking. Like someone's sitting on your chest and you're waiting for the white horse to show up and get the bitch off you. It's awful. 24/7. Awful. This is not someone I'm attracted to. This is not someone whose attention I want. And they don't get that. And despite my repeated requests, get the fuck out of my life. Get out of it. He's not. And it's pissing a lot of people off. So I said the same thing in 2014 to Mr. Quinn Sullivan after Mr. Perry butt in to a relationship with a man I wanted to pursue, and he interfered. I don't want to be a scandal. I want the bitch off me. I want him to leave me alone. I'm not saying here I don't want him to get reelected. Am I? Do you see anything political in this statement at all? I don't want him to be elected. That's not what I'm saying at all. What my words are, I want for him to leave me the fuck alone. He butt into a dating relationship or a potential dating relationship, and it pissed me off. That's none of his business. Not his business. And here we are. Now get him off me. Before I have to go public with this because he won't leave me alone if I don't. My life is in danger. Mr. Quinn Sullivan, you handle it. You have a backroom meeting and you get the guy off me. And I never want to hear from him again, ever. And this one ignored. So, there's nothing political here. I didn't go to the media. This is Michael Quinn Sullivan. This is not media. Before that, I went to Ben Campbell, Charles's campaign guy, and said the same thing. I have a business to run. I have 2 children to support. I'm a single mother, and I don't want him doing this. And he was hitting on me in public. You need to get him in line. People are seeing it. I'm not going to be a scandal. Well, what that led to is a bunch of threats. So these go back to 2011, fall of 2011. Robert and Mandy didn't live in Texas. These aren't media people. He's pulling up behind my house and watching me. He's threatened to ruin my business when I went to his campaign guy and said, put a stop to it. Well, you wouldn't want him to ruin your business, would you? That's kind of what he does. He does that anyway. There's all these. Nothing political. Again, I'm not complaining about his position on gun rights or pro-life or gay rights or whatever. Am I? All of this has nothing at all to do with politics. Not one thing in here about I don't want him to get elected. What I'm trying to say is I didn't hurt him. I didn't go to media. I went to you. And your response is not, thank you for letting me know, I'll take care of it. Your response is, you wouldn't want us to ruin your business, would you? Who the fuck says that? Charles Perry. He's been a crook all his life and just hit it. All right, well, the thing that he has human rights violations, the torture, the torment, the starvation of women and children that he broadcasts all over the dark web, because we have a witness that says, as long as I've known Charles, that's what he does. He trolls women. He waits till they're not home. He has somebody break in to put hidden cameras in. He'll either pay the landlord, the maintenance guy, or a locksmith. Put hidden cameras in and broadcast them on the dark web, and he sells watch time. He's a sexual sadist. He enjoys torturing, torment, harassing, bothering, getting women hysterical, and he can go then rub one out. And I'm quoting the witness. Rub one out is his term. I usually say jack off. He said rub one out. So What he does is he'll do that. Then he'll get them fired. Now they're stressing out over money. He'll hack them. He makes sure they can't find another job. And so now they lose their house. Then he'll have the ex take the kids away. The kids are all traumatized from all this. They're ripped away from mom. They had a nice, happy, stable home, and he ruined it. And he goes and jacks off. It's all about sex, just like BTK. He's addicted to sex, and weird sex. He's one of those weird sex pervert guys. So I'm telling them all this. I'm not trying to hurt him. I didn't go to the media with this. I went to your campaign guy and my friends that don't live in Texas. I kept my mouth shut for 4 years. After I went to Quinn Sullivan, and he ignored me, Mr. Perry escalated, and I really had to go to media. I didn't have a choice. I'm not going to end up like Chandra Levy. I'm not going to end up dead. That's what I said. I wasn't trying to blackmail. There was no blackmail. There was nothing like, I'm going to tell if you don't give me money. There was nothing like that. It was just, leave me alone, leave me alone, leave me alone. Oh shit, I got to go to the media now. And I did. I had no choice. So, he had 4 years to straighten up. 2011 to 2014 is 4 years. He had to control himself. And I only went to media because, believe me, I didn't want anything. I didn't want this out. No one wants this. I'm a scandal. No one wants that. I sure as shit didn't. I had kids. I had a reputation. I didn't want anything to do with this. And I would tell Mr. Perry that. I don't want to be a scandal. I'm not going to be your error in judgment. Stop this. He wouldn't stop. Then it gets to a place where it's do or die. Literally. So, then, let's see. So we got these texts too from back in 2011 where one of my clients, Frank Morrison, was telling people, he mentioned to me something about an affair with Charles that he had gotten from a guy named Chris Wynn, who was the chairman of the GOP at one time, and good friends with people named Carl and Robin Tepper, who worked for Charles. And I'm telling my client, there's no affair. There's nothing like that. That's really creepy that you were told that. And I don't remember exactly what he said to me, because it's been a long time ago. But it pissed me off enough to where I contact Charles. I'm texting him, what the fuck is this? There's no affair. You need to watch what your people are saying. Where are they getting this stuff? Well, not long ago, Mr. Powell called up to Oklahoma and asked somebody, I think it was when I was in Manford, so it would have been in 2019, can we just get Frank to say she misunderstood something? And the guy said, well, you can, but I don't think it'll work. Because Mr. Perry never asks Cynthia why she's pissed, which means he already knew. And he doesn't deny spreading rumors of an affair. He denies having employees. Well, everyone knew he had employees. She names them. So we were all wondering then, why did Mr. Powell even have to ask that question? Why didn't he figure that out on his own? Kind of embarrassing, Mr. Powell. So this goes back to 2011. Again, we're not talking about any kind of political issue here. All of this is about personal problems. Your personal moral failure. You're a married guy. You're telling people you're having an affair with a woman in the community who's not aware of that. Gee, I didn't know there was such a thing. Right? You don't do stuff like that. You just don't do it. I mean, I don't know what the fuck trailer park trash you are, but you don't do this. And so I was mad. I was trying to be discreet for a time in case his wife found out, because his wife didn't need to worry about a non-existent affair, did she? We were trying to keep the peace. We were trying to avoid conflict. This is text about I sent Mr. Perry a yes or no question. Will the IRS take my deductions? Yes or no? He's a seasoned accountant. He ought to be able to answer that yes or no. Instead, I get some bizarre shit that didn't make any sense with threats slipped in there. You lose. You're stuck. You have no control. Those guys in Manford. Do you know how many times I've pulled up behind the house of a woman who is not my wife? Never, because it's weird. You know how many times I've gone to a restaurant or sent my secretary to go to a restaurant to spy on a woman who is not my wife or even my wife? Never, because it's weirdo. You know how many times I've told someone that made a mistake? Even if they made a mistake, you're stuck, you lose, you have no control? Never. It's weirdo. You know how many times I've told a woman, let your life fade away. I can't promise this will end without death and destruction. Never, because it's weirdo. And none of that is what you need to do to pass a law in Texas. So why is he saying it? Right? Why is he saying it? And I worked on his campaign. Look at that. I consider you one of the bright spots in my campaign. Yeah, whatever. So, you don't... There's more of him. All he had to say is yes or no. It's on all the weird shit. Doesn't have anything to do with anything. The other thing is, Cheryl. You gotta find Cheryl. Okay, so this is my friend Cheryl. There was only twice that I left my phone at home. Well, every Wednesday, me and Cheryl would go with her church friends to happy hour at Carino's. Every Wednesday. So Charles sees these texts, because I'm not calling him. I'm not telling him. He's not invited. And his secretary, Catherine, would come and sit right next to us. She'd have the whole restaurant to sit in. She had to sit right next to us. Me and Cheryl are starting to get weirded out by this. And we're like, what the hell? I look at Cheryl and I go, let's go to Starbucks after this. So we did. We went to Starbucks and we're talking about it. And I'm like, I think he hacked my phone. And I think she's here. I mean, she could sit in the whole restaurant. Why the hell is she always got to sit by us? Nobody invited her. Nobody invited Charles. And I tell her, I think he hacked my phone. And I think he's seeing us type to each other when we're coming and that we're coming here and stuff. And he's spying on me like weirdo. I'm not his girlfriend. I'm not his wife. What the fuck is this? So we go later, about 2 weeks later. I left my phone at home and I'm running errands. And I get home and Cheryl calls me and she's like, you're not going to believe who came walking in to Carino's tonight. And I said, who? And she goes, Charles Perry. I said, what? She goes, I said, I had to run errands. I forgot all about that. I forgot that this was Wednesday. And by the time I remembered it was Wednesday, I think she texted me and said, are you coming? And I had just gotten home and I was like, I just got home. I had to run errands. I forgot today's Wednesday. So I'm probably not going to make it because I haven't taken a shower. By the time I shower and everything, y'all are going to be ready to leave. So I'm not going to make it tonight. Well, what happened is she says Perry comes in, looks around, went right back to where she was sitting, gave her a dirty look and left. Wasn't eating there. And she goes, he was clearly looking for you. And so the interesting thing about that is if he's GPS'd my phone, when I lived in Lubbock, I only forgot my phone twice. Okay, so if my phone's at home, should he not think that's where I am? So if I leave my phone at home and go run errands, he's going to think I'm at home, right? But he knew I wasn't. He goes to Carino's looking for me. So he's got peeping cameras on me, just like our witness says. And the other time that it happened, I was actually out on a date. Oh, here's the other thing that was kind of weirdo, is that his daughter, I would text somebody about going to this place called The Roof, which is like a bar, dance place thing, dance club type thing, across from the Texas Tech Stadium on the roof. And I would go on like a Friday night. This happened twice. If it happens once, maybe it's a coincidence. If it happens 2, 3, 4 times, now it's not a coincidence. Now you're doing this on purpose. So and I was raised by cops. We don't believe in coincidence. I mean, my family was cops, and I don't believe in coincidence either because I'm raised by cops. I'm taught not to. There's no such thing. So my excuse me. I go to this place and I'm going usually on a Friday night. On a Saturday night, I went twice. Now I went more than once. I mean, I went more than twice. I went a lot of times to The Roof, but usually I would go on a Friday night and not talk about it again, just like once that week, or on a Saturday night, the same thing, either or. But twice I'd go on a Friday night and then plan to go back the Saturday night, and had texted about it. I actually texted a person, I'm going to The Roof Saturday night. Would you like to come? I was there last night and it was fun. Well, then twice, both of those times, at the last minute, either I canceled or the other person canceled and I didn't go. Well, Here, the next Sunday morning, here's Jordan Charles's daughter. So what's he sending her to spy? I mean, twice this happens. Yeah, it just got weird. And so I'm telling Cheryl, I'm like, man, that is not normal for that to happen. Okay, so the other time that I forgot my phone, I went on a date with a guy named Daryl, and I forgot my phone at home. Again, Mr. Perry should think I'm at home if my phone's at home, and he's GPS'd my phone, but he had cameras in my house, so he knew I wasn't home. He knew I left, and he just didn't know where I was because I didn't have my phone with me. So I come back, and there's this puddle of liquid on my counter, and I look in the cabinet above it, and there's like a hole eaten through the plywood. I'm like, oh my God in heaven, what the hell? And the bottom of the vitamin bottles that were in the cabinet was melted. That's the one on the left. And the one on the right is a new one I had bought. I call Lubbock police, and they're like, yeah, we can't do anything. There's no sign of forced entry. Well, breaking and entering is still breaking and entering. Unlawful entry is still unlawful entry. Whether you can see a sign of it or not, people use locksmiths' bump keys, or they pay off the maintenance guy or the landlord. See, in Oklahoma, the law states it's any unlawful entry, whether there's forced entry or not. It's a crime. And I don't know what the laws were in Lubbock, but that guy did not do shit. Not shit for me at all. So that's one police department. We were like, yeah, not impressed with you. Like this girl says, I didn't get any help from police. What are they going to do? Wait till she's dead and then do something? Have you heard of Rebecca Schaefer? Her stalker killed her. Found her address from DMV records. Have you heard of Drew Carey's girlfriend? I can't remember her name. Her stalker killed her. Dead. She's dead. We can't get her back. We can't get Rebecca Schaefer back. John Lennon, killed by the stalker. 75% of femicides, the victim says the victim was stalked first. So, police. Wow. You're gonna wait till we're all dead? Stalking victims are dead and then you'll do something? I don't know. These guys, it's always like, well, why didn't you go to a shelter? Fuck you. Why don't you put the bad guy in jail? Do your fucking job. Don't put it off on the women. You take care of business. Do your job right. And then we don't have to go to a shelter. How about that? I mean, that's my perspective. I don't even have, again, because of the family I was raised in, I don't have any patience for sloppy. I just don't. I'm sorry. Okay, so what happens then is awful. I moved twice. Not once, twice. Spent all day, packing. Have to load the U-Haul. Have to go sit my son down and explain to him we got to move. And here's why. You're going to have to leave all your friends and everything you know. And I'm sorry. And he was not happy. We pack it all up. We move. We go to Dallas. I have to start dancing so that I can make money without Mr. Perry hacking and interfering with my job. I did sell medical supplies too. I would go to a doctor's office. Now, keep in mind, I've always sold medical all my life, been very successful at it. All of a sudden, I'm scheduling an appointment with doctors, and I can't sell a damn thing. And not only that, they're hostile to me. Never before in my life. Mr. Perry acts like we've had no history before him. We're just like he can just fool everybody into thinking that all of a sudden we're just failure. No, you're causing it. You can't keep up. You want to make women fail. You got a hatred. You got a mommy issue, and you're gonna attack all women. You show acts of aggression against women because you got some kind of problem you couldn't keep within your own family like you shoulda if you had class. You get all, you got your dirty underwear. It's out on aired everywhere. It can that slime all over other people's families. We don't think that's cool. And in the house I grew up in, you don't do that. My family had the power in Roswell. It's a small town. My granddad was an elected official and a chief. He had power. You don't even know what that looks like. But you don't behave like that. You don't do drama. And you don't drama that all over shit, crap all over the people. You keep your family problems, your mommy issues within your own family. You don't bother other people with it. You control that shit. And he can't. So, anyways. So I moved to Dallas. Meet a man that I really liked named Fabian. And Charles made things very, very wildly uncomfortable for me there. So I moved again to Tulsa, Oklahoma, where my family is. My family's in Oklahoma. So I come to Oklahoma, and again, he makes it weird. He's starting to butt into stuff in my work. He's butting in like a motherfucker. So I go to court, and I try to get a protective order, right? But there was a problem with it. One is I had a shitty attorney who didn't explain jurisdiction to me. I get that now, believe me, but I represent myself. I had to study it. So my attorney should have explained that to me and should have asked me a lot more questions about what has he done in Oklahoma. I think she kind of went in passing, oh yeah, what's he done here? And I was like, well, and I kind of started to explain it, and then we got interrupted and I never could. I had gotten into kind of the history. Well, the history was mostly in Texas. Remember, I had just kind of recently moved to Oklahoma. She definitely should have explained to me, here, we need to show that he's doing stuff here. We need to give me anything you've got about that. Because I was all focused on the history. Like, that's where my head was, not understanding jurisdiction. Well, history is in Texas. She didn't explain to me, well, we might need the history, but really what's more important is giving me what he's done here. Like dates, times, witnesses, anything you've got. Never asked me any of that. Well, I was like, so the first one is denied on jurisdiction, but the second one is, see the last sentence there that says you must file a police report with law enforcement to get a stalking protective order. Okay, so I forgot the police report. Now, I did file it, and I brought into court Officer James Lowry of Sapulpa Police is who I file it with, and here's the case number, Judge. And he said, that's not enough. I have to have the actual report. I'm going to deny you. But then he turned to Mr. Warman, Charles's attorney, and said, it goes without saying. In other words, I shouldn't have to say this. You ought to be smart enough to know. It goes without saying, don't contact her. Don't contact her. Right? Okay, so the second one is denied on that basis. Failure to comply with that. Then things get bad for me over the next few months. In August actually, 2015, I'm approached by a couple of cops at work. They were customers. They were cool as fuck. They were sweet as they could be. That senator wants us to just find some way to arrest you. You embarrassed him because you filed a complaint against him. So he's retaliating. He wants us to just find some way to arrest you. We're not going to do it. That's not why we signed up to be cops. But that doesn't mean he won't find some prick that will. Be careful. Watch yourself. He's looking for something. Anything he can find is what we've been told. Find something. So I write a letter to the U.S. Attorney. And I tell them. And then in October 2015, I'm telling my ex-husband, here's the date on this, see, October 29, 2015. He just wants to arrange a false arrest. And at this time, he was planning to do the same to my son. Well, because he got caught, he did carry out that threat to me. He did do exactly what those two officers said. It wasn't legit, and I'll show you that in a minute. But first, here's the letter to the U.S. Attorney that I wrote. August 15th. This is the date they received it. August 27th, 2015. He's using cops to stalk me. Well, I never heard anything back. So then I start getting, Mr. Robertson comes in and introduces himself as Charles's hitman. And it's death threats after that. And I'm trying to argue for my life. Arranging a false arrest or killing me is not going to vindicate Mr. Perry from stalking. What it is going to do is prove he is. Well, if you're getting threats of death and false arrest, you need a protective order, do you not? Now I know a little more about it because the first one didn't work out for me. So now I know what my mistakes were and what I need to do different. Do I not? Surely, most people learn from their mistakes. I just want this to be over without death and destruction. He says he can't promise that. That's what the Manfred guys were referring to. He tells me, let my life fade away. This is what they were talking about. I think this was Lucky and Mike. I can't. You know how many times I've said that to someone? Never, because it's weird. And it's not political. Okay, yeah. You don't need to have somebody text somebody that. to win an election or pass a law. Not win an election, to pass a law in Texas, right? Yep. Okay, so then I'm starting to get sick. And I bought charcoal even. Where's my charcoal receipt? That's somewhere in here. I buy charcoal to keep myself from ending up dead. Here it is. December 27th, 2015. There was about 4 customers that would come in, buy me a drink. I'd have to get up and go to the bathroom or get up and go on stage or something like that, some work-related duty. Come back, take a sip, get an immediate screaming headache. I'd get real dizzy, a metal taste in my mouth. And now I think I went over this thing where I'm a rapid metabolizer. That means whatever I take, it hits me pretty quickly. Like if I have Benadryl, I take the Benadryl and immediately I'm feeling better if I'm having an allergic reaction. Same thing with Tylenol or ibuprofen. I don't really do any drugs. I don't take any narcotics, prescription or otherwise. So I'm limited to that. Benadryl or Tylenol or ibuprofen. Once or twice I've had to take Tylenol with codeine, which actually I didn't take. I think I took 1 or 2 pills. The one time, once or twice I was prescribed it. I couldn't stand the way it made me feel. I felt very dizzy, very weirdo. I felt gooky, like drunk. And I didn't like feeling that, and it didn't take the pain away. Well, come to find out, I guess we have Asian in our blood or something. I've Indonesian way back somewhere. And Asians, I guess, are rapid metabolizers. And what I've heard is that when you're a rapid metabolizer, codeine doesn't work on you, basically. And you might as well just take Tylenol straight up. That there's something in the rapid metabolizing of that drug that makes it where it does make you dizzy and whatever, but it won't actually relieve pain. So there's really no sense in taking it. So I would take 1 or 2. I think I don't even remember how many times I've had it. But for the last time I was prescribed it was when I was pregnant with my son, and my hip rotated forward, and it caused my whole back to go out, and I was in a lot of pain. Well, I took 1 or 2 maybe, and I told my ex-husband, I go, I can't take these. These are not taking the pain away, and they're making me goofy, and I really don't like feeling that way, and I've got Tristan here I need to take care of, so I can't afford to be goofy, and especially if they're not working. So I took ibuprofen, and that did the trick. But basically, my point is that if I'm taking a sip of a drink and I get an immediate symptom, then I can discard the drink. And I probably saved my life because I didn't drink the whole thing. And then I'm also buying charcoal, which is something they used to give people in the emergency room to absorb whatever drug they overdosed on and pump their stomach. Well, I go to Whole Foods and I get this. I don't know how much good this did, but I'm still alive, so I guess it did something. The point is, I was trying not to die and still go to work. I needed to work. I had a kid. I'm a single mom. Nobody should have to go to work and become a victim of crime every time they do. Murder. They're just going to explain it away of a lifestyle of a strip club. Right? Okay, sure. Well, that didn't work out for you. And then I text Mr. Roberson. Mr. Roberson approached me and said, I'm Charles Perry's hitman. I'm going to put you in the lake if you don't recant your claims. That's what he said. Straight up. Just like that. I'm on stage. I can't move. But I'll tell you what. I didn't always move. Sometimes I'd get right back in their face and get them talking. I want these guys talking. I want evidence because I'm getting a protective order. If he's going to come up here in Oklahoma, in the forum state where I live, and bother me, I'm going to get the fucking evidence. And we're getting a protective order, and he's not going to bother me ever again. Right? Or any other woman he might be torturing, tormenting, or starving. I'm very good at what I do, by the way. They don't know exactly what that is. I'm going to keep them guessing. Okay, so this is, they don't get to know that. There's stuff they don't get to know. Then there's this text. I Google symptoms, and I text it right to Dave. Arsenic or phenobarbital? Yes. Which one? I think it was arsenic. The symptoms were that. I think there was one time that I Googled the symptoms. Because remember, there's 4 times I'm getting weird feeling after I'm taking a drink. These guys would come in and say, oh, I'm from Florida or I'm from out of state somewhere. They could have been right down the street for all I knew. And I knew that when they came in. I mean, it's not like when a guy comes into a strip club and they tell you, my name's Fred and I live in, I'm from Canada. You're going, sure. You're probably Maurice from right 3 blocks down. I mean, you don't, people can lie in there. It's fine. It's not, you're not in court. It's a strip club. But the problem is, sometimes when one of them's being used as a proxy killer, that makes it hard to find him. But David, I got his phone number, so he's texting me an admission. Yeah, we're trying to kill you. I told you we would. Let your life fade away. Can't promise it will end without death and destruction. Now, would that not make any reasonable, prudent individual fear for their lives? I think it would. So I filed a police report. Now, I didn't put the poisoning in the police report. I was scared to fucking death. I was afraid they would retaliate, and they did. I believe, though, I did tweet it to Tulsa police because I'm thinking if I tweet the poisoning to Tulsa police, he won't kill me because everyone knows it's him. They'll stop trying to kill me. Tulsa police tweets me back, come in and file a report. Why would they not say that? That's pretty much a standard response for a police officer, is it not? And then why would I not do it? Since it's the law, if I want to get a protective order, and I've just been getting instructions from locals, come in and file a police report. We need to investigate it first, though, right? Wouldn't you think? Okay, so here's the date. January 21st, 2016. 9 days later, not even a week, my son and I go in. My son has done an affidavit, by the way, that's on all three court cases, dockets. He went with me to explain to the officer, whoever we talk to, she's getting sick and it's weird and I think she's being poisoned. It's not like her normal sick. That's all he was gonna, or in his own words, tell what he was seeing. And I had called his dad freaking out, and my son's freaking out watching me freak out. I traumatized my son, freaking out. He's trying to threaten a death and false arrest. In October, after that email, I called my ex-husband. I was nervous. I was screaming, crying, hysterical. What am I going to do? He's trying to kill me. He's trying to false arrest me. I then had arrangements made. He calmed me down. My ex-husband calmed me down. But my son saw that. I was scared, out of my mind. What's he going to do? Am I going to die? Is my son going to have to ID my body before he gets out of high school? So, anyways, I get this. We got through it. We worked through it. And I went to my family and I said, I'm getting threatened with death and false arrest. If Charles does it, here's my son's paperwork. They already had my paperwork. They already had his paperwork in case he carried out one of those threats. On the 29th, he did. The charge, I don't know if you can see it here, but anybody can pull this up on the docket. See, it's in civil court. It's in all three. It's on the docket that it was filed in. Filing a false police report in retaliation for a public servant doing his job as a state senator. Wow. And yeah, we go back to 2011, and there's no mention at all, anywhere, of a political vendetta. I was in politics all my life. Charles was the new guy. You saw the email. You're the bright spot in the campaign. I helped him get elected. He was the new guy. He was nothing before that. I'd been in all my life. I already had connections. I already had relationships. So if I need something, I'm going to call somebody I've already been working with, right? Had I worked on Texas legislation, I didn't. Never did that. I did federal. I did New Mexico. I did a child abuse thing in New Mexico, and that was personal. That wasn't for work. So the other work that I did government reform issues, and I did some campaigns for candidates. And one of my campaigns was covered internationally. I don't really want to get into all that right now. The point is, there were no texts, and I rant. When I'm pissed, I rant like a motherfucker. Not even a heated discussion about politics anywhere between me and Mr. Perry. He didn't matter. Also, his district is 86% conservative, right-wing Republican. So you get pissed off. He's pro-life. Well, you don't like pro-life. You kick him out. The next guy's going to be pro-life too. Pro-life, by the way, is a national issue. It's not just state. He's representing 3% of the state of Texas. So that's a very small part of the population of one state on a national issue that's actually decided in the Supreme Court, not at a legislative level. Roe versus Wade. And there's some more actually pending now. So ultimately, it's going to be decided by the court, not the legislature. So the legislature actually doesn't have as much power as people think. You can make a law, but it has to pass the Supreme Court, and most of them are challenged all the way up that high. So Mr. Perry is delusional and grandiose for sure in thinking that he's worthy of a political attack. Again, he didn't know anybody. I knew all kinds of people. I'd been in all my life. He's the new guy. He didn't know anybody. So I'm not going to go to him and go, oh, please help me pass a law. Oh, you're the only one that can do it. That never happened because it takes thousands of people to pass a law. Thousands of people. And Mr. Perry's the new guy. He didn't know anybody. I did. I knew all the people. He needed to meet the people I knew, not the other way around. And there's no discussions of anything. Nothing. I didn't give a fuck what he thought about anything. So for his district to be flipped, he's pro-life. You want to get a pro-choice guy in there, you got to have 50-50 demographics. Well, you don't. You got 86% Republican. You don't have 50% Republican, 50% Democrat to flip it. It's not volatile. It's not important. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. Unless it's more volatile and becomes 50-50. The mayor of Lubbock brings in a company from California. Now there's more Democrat voters. Now that spot might mean something. As it stands right now, no. There's no reason to spend time and resources on a district that cannot be flipped. And it's so small, it's really, he says Lubbock struggles to have a voice in Austin. We're so small. So for those reasons, why the hell would I target him? I already knew people. I didn't need him. There's no evidence of any political vendetta at all. There's no heated discussions. There's nothing. So he lied to get me arrested because I have all kinds of documentation that I was being threatened with that specifically. So there's that. Now I'm going to pause this for just a moment and do some switching around, and I'll be right back. Okay, so now I'm going to play the detective's audio that came in. Actually, okay, so remember I filed the report on January 21st, 2016. A week later, January 29th, 2016, I'm arrested. Not time for an investigation, right? We didn't talk to a cop. We talked to a desk clerk. She said, I'm going to file the report, put the report in the computer. A detective will be assigned. They'll call you, and you need to bring in your evidence. I had listed on the report that there were texts and video surveillance. There was an escalation incident at my work with Mr. Robertson, and customers had complained he's stalking her. It's making us uncomfortable. So I filed the complaint. I had taken a lot. They're trying to kill me. I'm getting poisoned here. I'm tweeting Tulsa police. I think I'm getting poisoned here, and they're telling me come in. So I did. This was on the 15th. I'm already in jail. Okay, so here's her message.
To begin with Tulsa Police, Cynthia, I'm looking at the report that you made on harassment and stalking, and need to speak with you concerning the report. I need to get some more details, and probably need to look at your phone for the text messages if you're wanting to pursue this. You can reach me at 918-596-2824, and just give me a call, and we'll set up a date and time for me to talk with you. Again, my number is 918-596-2824.
So, does it sound like...
This message is for Cynthia Ortiz. This is Detective Egan.
Does it sound like she had my evidence to investigate yet? So, there's a crime, Title 18, U.S. Code 1512 and 1518. You cannot, by physical force, prevent the reporting of a crime to police. What did he do? He obstructed justice. I lost my evidence. All the poison that was in my system is now working its way out while I'm sitting in jail. He interfered with the chain of custody of evidence. So they didn't get my text. They didn't look at them. I hadn't talked to them yet. I'm in jail when she calls, wanting it. She's asking for the evidence. If you want to pursue this, bring me the evidence. There was video surveillance of Mr. Robertson at my work that night. That's gone. That got, I guess that retaped over every 2 weeks or something. I'm in jail already. I've done nothing but file a police report in compliance with the state law. I had to, and they knew that because my first protective order was denied when I did not. So Mr. Perry did all that, and now we got obstruction of justice, destruction of evidence, tampering with a witness, intimidation, retaliation, all that. 1512 and 1513. Mr. Perry doesn't know how to read the law, and I guess his attorneys don't either, but he'll have a prosecutor read it to him at some point. So there's that. Hang on a second. So there's the arrest report. Well, they start talking to me about lying. Can you lie for us? No, I just have my mugshot smeared everywhere. I just lost my house. I came to Oklahoma to get away from this guy and not have a conflict and not be a scandal. You came here and you picked on me. You picked a fight with me. I tried to avoid one. I didn't just move one time. I moved twice. I uprooted my child twice. I packed everything I owned twice. And you came after me. You broke the law, not me. So, no, I'm not going to lie for you. So then they went, oh shit. Now we got to find a shrink that'll say she's crazy. So I got evaluated by 2 shrinks for mental competency to stand trial. Well, I passed those with flying colors. So, end up, they did dismiss the case. See, Mr. Powell dismissed it. No trial or anything like that. I had bond conditions, though. And actually, in my bond conditions, it says that they will leave me alone. And the reason it says that, excuse me, the reason it says that is because they wanted me to lie, and I said I wouldn't lie, but that I would just stay quiet. But the caveat was Mr. Perry cannot contact me ever again. If I don't, if he does, then all bets are off. This is more crap he's tried to do to me over the last 24 hours. Here they are. See, in the bond conditions, a senator is told not to contact the supposed, criminal. You ever see that before? I think it was Lucky and Mike that were like, these are not bond conditions. This is a cover-up negotiation. I've seen bond conditions. They don't look like this. Yep. You don't contact me again, I won't tell anybody what you just did to me. But I'm not going to lie for you. I just won't say anything. Well, it turns out they apparently perpetrated a fraud upon this court, too, when they did this. Because they had a plan, and that plan was, we want to make her think that we're going to leave her alone, we're going to send her home, we're going to harass the hell out of her, and then when she complains that she's being harassed, we'll say she's harassing us. Right at that time, Justice Scalia is in West Texas, of all places, and he dies. He died on February 11th, 2016. I was arrested on the 29th of January, 2016, and released on bond. I think it was what does this say? April 5th or 6th. So, April 5th or 6th, I went home with these bond conditions. And I also had to see a shrink. So I see a shrink for a year and a half. And during that year and a half, I'm not diagnosed with any mental illness or given any treatment. You don't need to treat something that's not there. So, in fact, my shrink called it a stalking escalation. And that can be seen. So after a year and a half, here's what my shrink says. That you need to ignore him. Well, if you ignore him, what's happening when I ignore him is he'll escalate, she says. Yeah, he'll escalate. And so what you've got with Charles is sometimes he'll escalate more than you can ignore. That's what she says, right? Let me see. Yeah, you back down, you ignore it again. What you've got with Charles is he'll escalate more than you can ignore. Yep. Okay, so that's what my shrink says, that he's a danger to me. She writes a letter. In that letter, she says, that I'm intelligent, articulate, and honest, and I'm basically focused on moving forward, and not I'm worried about Mr. Perry causing me harm. Right? Okay, so there's no diagnosis of she's a crazy woman and needs to be put in the funny farm. After a year and a half of seeing this, the shrink they ordered me to see twice a month for an hour or two. Once in a while, we do once a month if our schedules just kept, we just couldn't get our schedules together. But pretty much for a year and a half, it was twice a month, and I was my sessions were an hour to 2 hours, and that's her determination. She's not crazy at all. It's hard to say somebody's crazy when they kept telling everybody he's going to kill me or false arrest me, and then they do. And you're not committing a crime. You're doing something that you have to do by law in the state where you live, and he knew that. So there was right away 2 frauds perpetrated on a court. He went in and said it was a false report and obstructed justice. So there wasn't an investigation, and I lost my evidence. What should have happened is I should have had a blood draw or my hair taken and tested in forensic lab at Tulsa Police. The crimes occurred in Tulsa. This was Tulsa Police's jurisdiction. That's where I filed the police report. They should have had time to investigate. Instead, Charles whisks me away, and I get the call from a detective while I'm in jail already. So that's problem number 1. Number 2 is they knew by law I had to file that report. I didn't have a choice. They obstructed. They committed perjury. And then the second perjury was that bond conditions when he went in to make everybody believe he was going to leave me alone. Okay, so the other thing that happens while I'm in jail is so they decide we're going to send her home, make her think we're going to leave her alone. And really what we're going to do is harass the hell out of her and then claim we're the ones being harassed. Okay, so I actually had told my attorney that the second I got out of jail, because it was all over the jail. Everybody was talking about it. Justice Scalia dies. Remember Justice Scalia, the one that said, if I'm king, I'm going to hang the guy that burns the American flag. But I'm not king, and the Constitution protects it as free speech. So he is against censorship. They have a new law they're trying to pass in Texas or somewhere about harassing. So I don't know the verbiage of the law. I don't even care. I didn't even look into it. But what I do know is I'm being told he's going to tweet from your phone. Get rid of your phone. He's going to tell you he's going to send you home and leave you alone, and that's not what he's going to do. He's going to harass the hell out of you. Then when you tell on him, he's going to claim he's being harassed. They're going to use you as a test case before the Supreme Court. Right at that moment, right when they're planning that, February 13th, Justice Scalia dies. Of all the he's not in D.C., he's not in, Montana hunting. He's not in California. He's in West Texas. At this time, right when they're planning all this. And he dies. Well, William O. Ritchie questioned that. I'll show you. Hang on. This is former D.C. commander, not detective, commander of D.C. homicide questions Justice Scalia's death. How the way it was handled. It was very sloppy. There basically wasn't an investigation. There was a declarance of his death over the phone with the judge. And he's immediately going, well, we wouldn't have done that here. He's a Supreme Court judge. You don't treat him like that. We wouldn't have done that here had he died in D.C. Yeah. So something's fishy in Texas. You see that? He's questioning it. He's a homicide commander, not just a detective. He died in West Texas while they're planning that. And they knew pretty much they were not going to get a ruling from him that they wanted. Kind of, okay, so that's happening. Okay, now back to the other thing. Okay, so they can't really say that they didn't plan that because they did it in civil court. I sued them. I'm getting more threats because they did what they said. They harassed the hell out of me. And when I complained, they started asking for my whereabouts. They started trying to, charge me with harassment when I complained about what they were doing to me. Never mind every woman in the planet complains of being stalked. So I'm getting threats from Charles, and I'm emailing it just like the McNamara email of 2015, which is this. That's called the McNamara email. Okay, where I'm telling him he's going to false arrest me months before he actually did it. Well, there were more like that. So I'm telling his attorney. Well, his attorney asked for the emails. I think that I'm going to act in good faith, and I'm going to send them to him with the reasonable expectation he'll stop it. He'll restrain his client. That's not what he did. What he did is he took all those emails into a courtroom, Judge Cummins, and said, my client's being harassed. She's telling on him. And he's up in Oklahoma, causing her substantial loss, major loss, fear for her life. And we're going to claim he's the victim. So they did do it. And the judge did dismiss my claims with no reason and no case law precedent. So he did. Well, what I've done is I've filed the motion to vacate on fraud. And again, it did the same thing. So now we're just going to wait till Charles is in jail, and then we'll try again. And Cummins might be with them. You can get a motion to vacate filed. It's not on fraud. It's Rule 60. It's not that big of a deal. So there's that. So they can't say, no, we didn't plan that, because they did it, actually. When I got home, my son and I did disconnect my phone immediately, had a burner phone. Because every inmate told me, he's going to tweet from your phone. You better watch out. I understand I have 200 texts and emails I've not seen. He intercepted them. I've got mail I've not seen. He intercepted it. So we got... I put my disconnected phone in the back bedroom. And I think I was charging it up to send it back to my ex-husband. Or send it to my attorney, actually. I was charging it up to send to him. I believe still to this day he's got it. He's got several of my phones. So what happened? Excuse me. What happened then is we had gone into Manford to get some food. We ate. We had dinner, and then the rest of the family had gone way back in the back of the property to a shop, and they were talking with some guests. Dennis and I decided we want snacks. We go into Manford. We're not sure where to go. It's at about 8:48 p.m. Well, everything closes really early in Manford. At like crack of dusk, everything closes. So it's a small town. So we're driving along, and I'm in the left-hand lane, and all of a sudden Dennis goes, go here. On the right side, I turn right from the left-hand lane. I get pulled over. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the last thing I need right now. I just got home from jail. And the guy actually was very nice. It may have been Mike Nealey. I don't even remember. But he looks in the back seat and everything with his flashlight. And I didn't have anything back there. And I explained to him what happened. I go, I'm so sorry. We were driving. Everything's closed. And at the last minute, he tells me, let's go here. So I'm sorry. And he was like, yeah, don't worry about it. Just don't do it again. And leaves. Well, we get back from that. I look at my phone, and there's somebody's trying to text from it, not realizing it's disconnected. So, he did it exactly what they said. Okay, so there's that. And then, so in my lawsuits, basically, the first one I filed was in Tulsa, actually, before it was transferred to Texas, which it shouldn't have been. If you look at employers' mutual casualty benefit versus bar tile roofs, the 10th Circuit normally, if they're not paid off, or a law clerk paid off, I think there's some school of thought that the 10th Circuit rulings have come from law clerks, not the actual judges, and that the actual judges don't even have no idea. Even what has happened, and they may not. That's not my part of this, so I'm leaving that to these other guys helping me to figure out. But what I've been told is it looks like the law clerks got your shit, did the order, had the judges sign off on it, and the judges don't even realize what they signed. But according to employers' mutual casualty benefits versus bar tile roofs, the state where the injury occurred is what has jurisdiction. So I go in. I'm trying to find an attorney. This is a blatant civil rights violation. It's not that hard. No one will talk to me. No one will, no one will, it's a few talk to me, but it seemed like they were more interested in getting information for Charles than they were taking my case. Well, the way that I am is, fuck it, I'll do it myself. So I did. I bought law books and I filed the lawsuit myself. I'm in the first hearing. Judge Jody Jane is the magistrate judge. She rules in my favor. I will not, I'm denying Mr. Perry's motion to dismiss. It then gets transferred somehow to Texas, where Mr. Cummings did what he did. Mr. Cummings and Charles Perry have been seen hunting. So I guess that's where they come up with the orders that they're going to do, because there's nothing legal about it. When an order doesn't have a reason for the decision, no well thought out, it's just decided on a whim, the Supreme Court prohibits that. You got to have a reason, and you got to cite case law. He did none of that on any order, ever. And they went into court and lied. So now we've got lie number 3. Mr. Perry was not being harassed. He carried out a plan they cooked up when I was in jail, and while Justice Scalia died. So there's suspicion that Justice Scalia was actually murdered, and murdered by Charles Perry, not natural causes death. Mr. Perry likes syringes, he likes poisoning, he likes switching out pills, and that's his MO. Okay, so then I go, time goes on, and I'm getting harassed still, and I go to Manford. So what happens in Manford was very tragic and still upsetting. Oh, I got to cover this real quick. Okay, so the night that Dave comes in, I talked to him about Fabian. October 12th, 2015. That's the first night he came in. I text Fabian that night because what he said to me is, Mr. Perry's upset that you ruined his facade. Well, I said he shouldn't have a facade. You know, he wants to lie. That's his problem. It's not mine. I left town. I don't have anything to do with him. And he goes, why don't you like him? And I go, because he's a weirdo. And that whole Fabian thing. And he goes, Fabian doesn't want you. And I said, well, I need to hear that from Fabian. And he goes, well, actually, he just wants to fuck you. I said, okay, well, let us fucking be done with it. You guys drag this on and on and on and on. And he goes, actually, the two men fought about you for months. Actually, there's a lot of that. And I said, listen, there's nothing to fight about. I don't like Charles. I don't want anything to do with them. I choose Fabian. It's my choice, not y'all's. It's not something that Fabian and Charles decide. It's my decision. I don't like Charles. I wanted Fabian. You guys butt in. You guys interfered, and you need to get out of it. And whatever Fabian has to say, I got to hear it from him, not you. He's not a child. He doesn't need you to be his spokesperson. Nor do I need you to be my spokesperson when you're talking to him. Don't. You don't have my permission for that. Or anyone. So I text Fabian about it that night, and I'm telling him, I want to hear it from you. Well, I don't hear back from him. I call him. He goes, I'm at work right now, and I do want to talk to you about this. I'm off at 3:30. Call me back. Well, somebody found out about it and got to him because I tried to call him back, and I couldn't reach him. That was, wow. Now, there's other stuff going on I'm not going to discuss right now, but while I'm in jail, my guys get me this puzzle. Look whose name that is. Fabian intersecting with the word hope. It's not Charles's name, it's Fabian's name. The word me depicts Charles. He's selfish and he's a butt-in. The words boo and sad depict the sadness and the fear he causes. Charles causes that. People don't like feeling fear and sadness and anxious and stressed out, right? So they don't like him because that's how he makes people feel. Boo is a private joke between my friends and I, my cop friends and I. They got that to me in jail. You know anybody has that kind of power? Yep. Okay, so there's that. Now back to the next thing. I'm trying to wrap this up because I have a bunch of other stuff I got to do. Let's see. Also, just to go back real quick on... Here's the thing with my granddad. That's his name, L.M. Hall, on the right. That's the police department where he was chief. This is my great-granddad. He was L.G. Hall, captain of detectives, Roswell PD. This was a detective magazine they were in, Startling Detective. They solved that murder. That was like being on... This was in the 60s, late 60s, like 1968, 69. That's my granddad. We are called, as lawmen, we are called to relieve suffering caused by a crime. He's a good man. Okay, so this was like being on Forensic Files or the First 48 or something. It was a big honor to be in that kind of magazine. That's what I grew up in. My family had power. But there's more here I wanted to look at real quick. Here's the judicial impropriety. Here, we'll show Doug. These are Judge Cummings' orders. That looks like a decision on a whim, not well thought out. All of them look like that. Stupid. Okay, so where is the... Looking for what my life looked like before. Yeah, here. Nope, that's not it. There we go. Okay, so as you can see, this is Senator Harry Reid. That's Senator John Ensign. That's Rick Perry. That's Rick Perry. That's Randy Nagelbauer. Randy Nagelbauer, by the way, voted against a federal child abuse bill that I would, similar to the one I was working on in New Mexico. Twice he voted against it. I was pissed, but I never accused him of stalking because he's not a stalker. What you do if somebody pisses you off politically is you support the other guy on legitimate issues. You don't make up crap. Keep your mouth shut for 4 years. Move twice, then go public, then go to media. I mean, how ridiculous. I mean, these allegations. This is me and my granddad when I was little. As you can see, I look a little bit Asian here. I was like 2. And this was my son. He's playing football with Brian Urlacher. He sacked him right there. They were playing flag. You can't play tackle football with a real NFL guy like that big with kids. So they were playing flag. That's he played for the Chicago Bears. This is my son with Little John, the rapper. His Tristan's dad and Little John are best friends. So, I mean, we were exposed to. This is my granddad's campaign T-shirt when he ran for sheriff. That's his brochure when he ran for county treasurer. I hate that, Charles. Get out of my phone, man. Look how his philosophy was. At the treasurer's office, we appreciate our bosses coming in and looking at everything. We have an open door policy. That's grand law. He's the person that I want to be like. I mean, he lived his life in a good way, an exemplary way. That's him with my children, Tritson and Dennis, when they were little bitty. They're all grown up now. This is me with Ruth Schumeyer and Sheriff Gutierrez. I mean, these are people I knew long before I met Charles. Charles was a nobody. He still is to me. He's just not relevant. So now we're gonna go into the Manfred thing real quick, and this is gut wrenching to me. I was getting a lot of threats to my vehicle. I'm gonna take her car and have it towed and sold before she figures that out. Well, there was a lot of stuff going on with my car. Here, let me. So this is that. This was in. I documented this threat, August 23rd, 2019. Look at the last highlighted sentence. It's not legal. It's not legit. But I will have her car towed and sold before she figures that out. That was when I was in Manfred. They got that recording. Well, next thing I know, my radiator hose busts. There was somebody drained the oil out. I had the tail light taken out. My cop friends tell me, go check your tail light. Well, when you get ready to leave your house, do you not just walk outside and you get in your car and you go? You don't check your lights. Well, they told me to. Well, I checked them and sure shit, one was out. You better check your lights. He had somebody take your light out, put a burnt one in, and he wants you pulled over. Charles calls, I don't know how often he actually calls up here wanting me pulled over, but he gets recorded talking a lot about, I want her pulled over tonight. So we know he's, again, I've said it and said it and said it. He's tried to use some cops here to harass me for him, and that's not gone over very well for him. Okay. So then I'm driving down the freeway one night, and a brick comes flying at me. This was murder attempt number 2. Cracks my engine in 2. That could have been my skull. The only reason that it probably didn't is as I'm leaving, I see one of his guys sitting at the exit, so I went out a different way. So it put me behind about 2 minutes. But that guy was probably sitting there to call down the road to the guy that threw the brick. Here she comes. Yeah. Okay. So then I get a new car, and I have this dust in it. And I asked the maid, hey, did you see this dust in my trunk? Like, who the hell, did you see anybody messing with it? She goes, no, but the weird thing is, it's all over this room right here. Like 2 doors down from me. All over the place. That was actually wreck number 3 Charles caused. That's the one that I took to Tulsa police and said, this could be stalking related, I'm not sure. You're the cops. You figure that out. Same thing I said to Manfred. This could be stalking related. I'm suing these guys. One of them has his employee staying right next to me. So I've been harassed a lot. They're trying to take my money. They want to intimidate me or starve me into dropping my lawsuits, and I don't want to. I want a fair hearing and a fair trial. Well, 6 days later. Okay, so I'll get into that in just a minute. My car's just sitting in the parking lot and it's wrecked. right around 4th of July when I might would have gone to Manford to have 4th of July with my family. Okay, so I report this to Manford Police, and 6 days later, Chief Miller, I get a text from the maid. Chief Miller's dead, and the officer that took your complaint 6 days ago is arrested. And I'm like, oh my, what? Oh my God, what in the fuck is going on here? Well, I think immediately we knew something was up. Everybody starts kind of going, that was probably Charles and Dave. Everybody called them the Texas Mafia. They knew. So, we're not really sure. We're kind of starting to do some checking. Well, my guys let me know in March 2020 he was drugged. He didn't do it. Well, sure as shit, later, 2 months later, the first responders testified they treated him with Narcan for drug overdose. He's found unconscious. Also, look at him. Not a mark on him. Not a mark on this man. Look at his hands. That look like a guy that beat a guy to death. We're watching his interview on the news in February, and it's like it's like he's pointing out his hands. What do you mean I beat someone to death? I don't believe you. Look, there's nothing on my hands. You got to have a mark on your hand if you beat somebody to death, right? I'm trying to find I got my kid in here somewhere that was in a fight, and this is what you're going to look like if you're in a fight, not like Mike looks. Mike looks like a guy that was slept through the whole thing because he was drugged, right? These are unwanted contacts within the farm state of Oklahoma. That guy, he did the same thing. There's his name and number. He's texting me, it might be worth the risk of suspicion on Mr. Perry that you saw with Chandra Levy and Gary Condit to kill you. I signed a letter of non-discretion, an NDA, and I've been watching this behind the scenes. This is another one of Charles Perry's proxy stalkers. So you've got Dave, and you've got him, and you've got Terry Wagner. I don't know if I'll get into Terry Wagner today or not, but I'm looking for the picture of my son, because my son is what a guy looks like who was in a fight. He was in a fight, and he was hit 3 times in Vegas. He said that I was holding a beer and it didn't even spill out. Everybody went home. Here he is. Everybody went home, but look at the blood all over him. This is what a guy looks like who was actually in a fight. He was only hit 3 times. Everybody walked away. Everybody went home. He didn't hit back. But look at his shirt. Look at his face. He's got bruised lips, bruised cheek, cut lip. I mean, look at that. Okay, and you see poor Officer Nealey here You see poor Officer Nealey here with not a mark on him. Look at his hand. He's pointing that out in his interview. Look at my hands. There's nothing on them. Now, this one was red and swollen. It has got an IV in it. Might that be why it's red and swollen? He's got a needle in it. First responders said they don't put a needle in an injured hand. They don't. Why would you? Why would you not put it in that hand? There's no injury on that hand. So when you put it in the injured hand, when you put it in the hand, then you caused an injury. You stuck a needle in it. It's going to probably be a little red and swollen. So we knew that he was drugged. I tell the Florida State's attorney right here. Look at the date, March 2nd. I tell him right there where it's circled. He didn't do it. He was drugged. He didn't do it. He slept through the whole thing. He was found with on top of Miller. So what we think is that the hotel people were called up at 6 o'clock for they couldn't find the remote. So they look at the hotel. John goes up and shows them where the remote is. Mike opens the door. The guy says, "Yeah, I could see Chief Miller laying on the bed." And about an hour later, there's a commotion, and he goes back up. Lucky answers the door, but he won't open the door all the way. So nobody knows how Mike's doing. But I'll tell you one thing. An angry drunk is going to be screaming and ranting. He's not going to be completely quiet. Mike wasn't seen or heard at the call that was at about 8 o'clock. So he was probably already out. The fight was over. Why would you give him to knock him out? Not between Mike and Lucky, but between Lucky and the perpetrator, the offender. So when he opens the door, he won't open the door all the way. He probably had a gun to the back of his head. He's opening the door. Wouldn't open it anymore for his face to be seen. The guy's probably behind him. As soon as he shuts the door, he's being told to get rid of Hotel John. Get rid of Hotel John. So he tells him, "Oh, I'm just trying to calm my buddy down," but nobody can hear him. Mike is not heard screaming and yelling like an angry drunk might be. That's the accusation. He was angry drunk and he beat Lucky to death. Okay, well, you would hear something from an angry drunk. That you can't hear anything. He's probably out cold by this point. So the fight was actually, they give Mike something. Mike's out, passed out cold right now, and Lucky's yelling at the guy, "What'd you give him?" And here comes Hotel John to check on things. Lucky opens the door, only wide enough to see his face. The guy's behind him with a gun to his head. Get rid of him. As soon as he shuts the door, he subdues Lucky, pulls him back into the corner where he was found. Because you're not going to fall, you're going to fall limp if you're beaten to death. You're going to fall limp against the wall or something. He's found in a very small, confined space, flat on his back, straight up. I'm trying to find where the picture is of this confined space he was in. It's here somewhere. He's in a small, confined space, laying on his back, face up with his hands beside him. So somebody put him there. You don't fall like that. Perfectly nice and neat like that. Someone placed him in that position that he's found in, and probably then picked Mike up off the bed where he was passed out and threw him on top of Lucky and walked out thinking both men were dead or dying. They come back at 9 and find them this where it's hard for me to talk about this really. They find them like Lucky's already gone. Mike is incapacitated, given Narcan. Just like I said, he was drugged, and I said it 2 months before anyone else said it. I got a lot of pictures here, don't I? This is where people would pull up and take pictures of me up there. Lucky had been called about 3 times about it. It was a problem. We had a lot of menacing traffic around, and he got a lot of complaints. He said, "I need tags. I can't really do much if I don't have tags." Hang on a second. Okay, so I finally found the pictures. So what you see here is on this side. That's where Chief Miller was found, laying face up, nice and neat in that confined space, which if there was a fight and he was knocked down, he would have been slumped over or something. So this, if you went away from that wall in the back there and out towards your left, you would see the door where they open the opens up into where the bathroom is on your left, and then the door in front of you. And so we don't think there's any way he could have ended up in that confined space face up like he was found by falling from being hit. Somebody placed him there. He had the internal injuries. He had the injuries of internal decapitation. He had extensive damage over his head, neck, and face, a bruised, swollen eye, and blunt force trauma to the head. And supposedly, the man that did that had not a fucking thing on him. So how do you beat a guy to death while drugged and unconscious, not end up with not a mark on you, and